So Keffals asked me to record the intro to this video, and I did. It is a debate with the Yankee Tankie, which is somebody I've debated on my channel before multiple times. I think I've debated him 2 or 3 times now. 3 times, I think, if we include a panel appearance. All of them have been completely insane. The first time I debated him, he debated me from outside of an alleyway. He was in the alleyway of between 2 buildings. I don't know if he had a home at that time. I think since then he has moved in with somebody else. And during that period, it was like 9 p.m. when towards the end of the debate, and he was yelling about how Hitler was Jewish in an alleyway outside in public. And then somebody living assumedly next to the alleyway came out, told him to shut up, to go inside because he was trying to sleep, and then the debate ended. The rest of it was a complete mess. You can go watch it if you want to. The second debate we had was just as ridiculous, just as silly, and just as unproductive. Every single time the guy acts completely outrageous. He gets very angry anytime there's any pushback about anything he believes, believing everything he believes to be 100% true, unrefutable, unable to be challenged. And anytime it is challenged, instead of like calmly talking about what's wrong with his position or what he believes is wrong with the critique, he just kind of like, he just starts to act like a gorilla. He just starts to start flinging feces everywhere, yelling into the camera, making silly faces, and getting extremely agitated. It seems like when the debate gets too complex for him, he just resorts to yelling. What's this? What have you guys sent me?
We fought for the future, destroy the invaders, and brought to our homelands the laurels of fame. And glory will live in the memory of nations, and all generations will honor her name. For Soviet's motherland, built by the people's.
Anyway, you get the idea. Dude's a kind of a wackadoodle. So Keffals had a debate with him. She asked me to record the intro for it, and since she asked me to record the intro for it, the least I could do was watch the thing. I heard it was pretty toxic. Let's watch. Warning. This video contains heavy use of transphobic and homophobic slurs, tropes, dead naming, and other various forms of bigotry that may be unsettling for some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Stop interrupting me, you fucking cuck!
What?
Let me tell you what the fucking facts are, you fucking stupid. I can't say that. Goddamn fucking Twitch TOS. Fucking porn adults. It's obvious you're porn adults.
How?
You're pretending to be a fucking woman.
Focusing. I've been asking you to explain one concept. Just one Marxist concept. And you can't explain it. You know you don't know what it means, so you keep pivoting. You don't believe in Marxist theory. You don't believe in Leninist theory. You've shit on Mao. You've shit on Xi Jinping. I have met people who have died, people who have dead family members who fought in actual revolutions, and you are pitiful. You know nothing.
Okay, can I just quickly say, one last thing before we get into this, because this is not going to be a productive conversation. I'm not gonna bother sitting here and like I'm gonna debunk every single thing he said, because it's just the yelling match. You can barely even hear what he's saying. I might like throw commentary here or there. I'll do my best, but this is just ridiculous. What I tried to talk to him a little bit during, I think it was maybe my second or third conversation I had with him. I forget when. And I started to ask him about why he does what he does. And the response I seem to have gotten is that, you know, by doing and behaving the way he does, he gets attention. And that by getting attention, maybe he can direct people towards the glory of MAGA communism, which is the MAGA movement, Donald Trump's, you know, conservatism, and Marxist-Leninism, at least in his interpretation. That's his thing. Marxist-Leninism. He's a big fan of Stalin, big fan of the very authoritarian communist. He wants to combine these two things together, and he can direct people in that way by acting so ridiculous. But in my mind, I also think he's a perfect representation of MAGA communism. Just like I think it's you know, a little schizo, if I'm putting it very bluntly. It doesn't really make much sense. Loud and obnoxious and without any substance, made to provoke and not made to, you know, inform or think. It's just made to be a provocative like idea. Oh, MAGA communism. I think he is a good representation of that, but not a good representation as in he's going to bring people to the movement, but as in I can point to him and say, you don't want to be like that guy, do you? And I don't know if he realizes, I think that's his role. There's a reason why people keep bringing him on these shows, and it's not because they want him to spread the glory of Marxist Leninism with MAGA characteristics for the multipolarity of the age of Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. The reason people have him on their shows is because he's a ridiculous clown, and it's very easy to dunk on a ridiculous clown until then watch them screech and say, wow, look at me, look how calm I am as this guy's going, ah. That's the reason they have him on, right? I mean, I've always had kind of like a slight fascination of him, just for the idea of like, what makes this guy tick? What makes him do what he does? But then after asking him and him giving me that answer, I found it very uninteresting, because I just thought maybe this just is how he is. And I think it is to an extent, but it's also him just playing it up to be purposely ridiculous. But it's hard to know where the line is. And I think it's 80% him, but even knowing he plays it up at all kind of ruins some of the magic for me. But let's get into it.
Thing about what you're talking about, and you're a fucking LARPer. The people that I know who have put their life on the lines in the name of revolution would think that you're a fucking pathetic loser.
Shut the fuck up, porn idol.
How?
Now,
explain.
Shut the fuck up, you fucking true.
Can you explain to me why you can't have a conversation?
That's a slur for trans people, by the way. I think this is gonna be a terrible conversation, man.
About Chinese politics.
I think this guy feels like the best person to have a conversation about trans LGBTQ plus issues. I think this guy really has his ears to the railroad tracks of the LGBTQ plus community to see what's coming and what's important to him.
Without devolving into transgender slurs.
Shutting the fuck up when I'm talking to you.
Okay, so I muted him again because he can't have this conversation like a grown-up without calling me slurs, which, you know, I haven't actually insulted him in any way like that. This is really a behavioral issue on his part, and probably why he's been banned from all these organizations. Let me introduce our guest for the day. Yankee Tankie. Hello.
Hello.
We put this off for a long time, but it's great to finally talk to you.
It's great to actually be in a debate with you. I think it's about time, considering, you know, it's been what, several months since my debate with like Dylan Burns, the first debate with Dylan Burns. I'm pretty sure that's when I initially challenged you, and I feel like you've been dodging me since then.
Wait, did he use his debate to I do not remember that. Did he use my debate to challenge Keffals? All I remember from that conversation is just him screeching at the top of his lungs. I don't remember there being any actual message from that of like, I'm calling out people. I don't know, it didn't make an impact as much of the rest of his performance did.
I watched your Vosh debate and you kind of kicked his fucking ass, and I've been like scared to, like, I don't know, man.
Well, lovely sarcasm, but I know you don't feel that way.
You sure?
100% positive. I know what side you're on, Keffals.
What side am I on?
What does that mean?
You would definitely be on the side of the LGBTQ CIA agenda.
What is the LGBTQ CIA agenda?
Didn't the LGBT community get purged literally out of the national security apparatus in the 1960s and 70s? Didn't they call it the Velvet Purge? And they was purged specifically because there was a fear that the LGBTQ plus spies and agents and government officials could get information collected on them, exposing them as homosexual, and that the Reds, the communists, could use it against them to, you know, hey, now you're our agent, we're flipping you, or we're gonna tell everybody you like men, you like big musky men, and then the agent's like, I don't want anyone to know that I like big musky men, and then, you know, now they're a communist agent. That's, at least that was the motivation behind the Velvet Purge. Obviously it was ridiculous, but the CIA is not known for its long-standing positive relationship with the LGBTQ plus community in the United States, at least.
Agenda.
Well, it's just part of the many facts.
They have tried to, quote-unquote, repair it, and by that I mean they advertise to the community a lot more now and try to recruit from it because they want diverse people in the CIA. They want diverse people in the national security apparatus. I have no clue if it's been successful. I know there are gay CIA agents now. I know there are LGBT people in the CIA now, but I don't know how much that recruiting drive has actually worked.
Sections of a Malthusian plot to decrease the population.
That's true.
What? Has he gotten worse since I talked to him? I don't remember any of this stuff from my conversation with him. Malthusian? A plot to decrease the population. You know, I don't even understand, because the thing that gets me about the decrease the population plot, why would the same people who want to decrease the population through promoting the LGBTQ plus community and making everybody like men and therefore don't have babies with them? I mean, you still have artificial insemination. I don't know why there'd be so much research and development into artificial insemination to help LGBTQ plus couples have children if there's also like a plot to decrease the population. But putting that aside, if that is the case, why are they also trying to increase immigration? At least that's the idea, that they, you know, the elites want to increase immigration and bring in more of the world outside of America to the United States, because doesn't that also increase the population? I mean, I don't know. Look, it's just conspiracy rambling. I'm thinking too much into it. I'm putting, what's that thing my Meemaw used to tell me? You can't make sense of nonsense. That's it.
It is true. Now, I imagine you're going to attempt to brandish me as some sort of insane person that shouldn't be taken seriously, correct?
I mostly just want.
I don't want, dude. It's, you know, you've lost it, or you're not. You know that you're not top tier. You're not top shelf material. You're not the top of the shelf brandy aged to perfection. If before you even start a conversation, you say, I know the intention here is to make me look absolutely insane. Nothing's even happened. Nothing's even happened. But every single debate, he goes into rambling and yelling and screeching at the top of his lungs. He makes himself look insane. He makes himself look incredibly, I mean, schizo is the only word I can think of. It's not a proper word, but it's the only word I can think of.
Want to talk. I figured that's like the best way to get down to it, right? Like, instead of doing a debate, doing a dialectic, we both put our ideas forward and we try to come out with a synthesis and with the best idea based on what we both know.
Yeah, I know that you used to be part of the Communist Party, and you know all the linguistics, if you will, to sound like you know what you're talking about, for sure.
I mean, yeah, I've done a little reading. I've read my Lenin, Stalin, Mao, you know?
Right. You've read some, but do you truly understand it if you have already rejected Marxist-Leninist principles?
Well,
doubtful.
Why don't you ask me a question then?
This is also something I've noticed, and this isn't just a thing that like Marxist-Leninists do. This is people of every ideology, and I think it's a little, how you say, snobby. It's very uptight. I think it's a little disconnected. There's a lot of people who can never comprehend that somebody could live a totally different existence than you, right? With their own experiences, their own, you know, trials and tribulations, learning from different sources and finding their own interpretation of this gigantic world with millions of different factors and events going on and historical, and I mean events of historical consequence going on all the time, and they could possibly end up with a different interpretation of the world than you, or look at the same facts as you and come away with a different conclusion. There's a lot of people who think that if everyone just had all the facts, that I knew, that they would 100% agree with me. Even though a lot of times your perspective comes from a nitpicking of the facts. For example, I come from the United States. Just from where I was born and raised, I'm going to have a very American-centric viewpoint. If somebody was to try to ask me about my view of like Pakistani domestic politics, and how like the family structure in Pakistan has affected the political transformations of the nation, I'd be completely lost. And so something that could be produced by different conditions, your viewpoint, your worldview, I just can't experience that. That was something I would have to go on the ground to experience myself to be able to understand that. And so every time I see somebody be like, oh, you disagree with my specific worldview, that must be because you're just stupid, or you didn't truly understand it. Now, it's different when we're talking about ideology than when we're talking about like historical fact. Like, if we're talking about historical fact and somebody rejects something that just like is a historical event that happened. For example, people who deny the moon landing, that's a little bit different. Then I think you can be a lot more dismissive. But when we're talking about ideological interpretations of the reality that we all comprehend here, this is very snobby and not very working class.
I'll see.
Like, could you just imagine this guy going to like a construction project and he's talking to a bunch of unionized construction workers and he's like, what do you mean you're not Stalinists? That you obviously haven't read his work.
Where we both stand on something.
Okay. How do you feel about China?
How do I feel about China? I feel that China went through a period of capitalist restoration after the Cultural Revolution. Mao himself said that China was going down a capitalist path, and he tried to launch the Cultural Revolution in order to keep China on a path of socialist construction. It failed. Deng Xiaoping rose to power, and now we see China what it is today, which is the worst aspects of both the capitalist market economy and authoritarian governance.
So you think that China lifting millions of people out of poverty is a negative thing?
What does that have to do with socialist economics, though? They did that under a capitalist market economy. It has everything to do with
socialist economics.
Exactly.
It has everything to do with socialist economics.
I think it's awesome.
I think it's awesome that millions of people have been lifted out of poverty because socialism in China, unlike the Soviet Union, was capable of actually reforming their system internally instead of internally collapsing.
Right, but they did that by capitalism. They didn't do that by
They did it by socialism. They expanded productive forces, something that Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels have talked deeply about.
Look, I don't want to get too into the specifics of the, is China really capitalist or really communist? But after Mao Zedong kicked the bucket, and is now a goldfish in a tank on display for the Chinese public, after that happened and other people rose to power like Deng Xiaoping, private property and the protection of private property was then enshrined in the Chinese constitution. Now, I don't know what he thinks is communism or what she thinks is communism, or what most people think is communism, but when I hear that sentence out loud, that certainly doesn't sound like communism to me.
And something that, frankly, both Lenin and Stalin also advocated for. They didn't just...
I guess he could say, well, it's a different type of communism than Marxist-Leninism. This is actually this and this. And, in this version of communism, you can have private property, and that's actually something you can have. And Chinese billionaires is actually not really a problem and could work with Chinese. If he wants to make that argument, he can make that argument. It's just most people are gonna say cap. They're gonna say this is cap. This is nonsense. Because if you go to the communists that he's trying to appeal to in the West, right? If you go to the United States and you talk to people who are socialist labor organizers, like anarchist socialists and comms, if you talk to most people in the West or around the world who are socialists, and he asked them, should billionaires exist? They're probably going to tell you no, that billionaires are a symptom of a disease of income inequality. That's something that needs to be done away with, right? Soc Dems might be a little bit more reformative. Like, I believe these people should be taxed more to deal with the poverty and the malnourishment in the world. But almost every communist you run into, are they going to say that is immoral? It is a symptom of deep income inequality. That is wrong. The Chinese system rejects that. And so this is the thing that will baffle me about this guy, is that his whole shtick is act like a maniac to try to drag people to, you know, pay attention to him, so that he's acting like a maniac, which is already discrediting him, and even if he doesn't intend to, his beliefs. And then he's going to make a pitch that is completely unappealing to the Western communists that you would think would associate with him or would want to sympathize with him, because it's going to accept a bunch of realities about society, at least current society. It's just like, okay, billionaires are okay, okay, private property is okay, that almost all of them would reject, because there are also problems that they see in their own society. The prevalence of income inequality, the existence of billionaires, where there's people on the street, homeless veterans, you get the idea. Is he acting though? I think it's 80% him, 20% acting.
Allow the communes to be the only form, the only mechanism to expand productive forces. They did allow market forces in the Soviet Union, and that's the same thing China's doing, just on a larger scale.
No, I mean, if you want to ignore the fact that they do not have a socialist economy, that's fine. But
they do have a socialist economy. The mode of production is inherently socialist.
Exactly.
So, okay, be clear. Nike can have shoe factories in China underpaying their employees when they could be paying instead American employees at a higher rate, even though that would cost the American consumer more. They've instead exported manufacturing to China to benefit on the low cost of labor. Now that is, of course, starting to evaporate more. They're moving operations to Mexico, which is becoming a major manufacturing hub. They're moving operations to Vietnam as the Chinese middle class does expand. But that's a form of communism. Wouldn't that be, in a way, China engaging in the neo-imperialist economic system? The idea of, you know, these Western companies can benefit on the low cost of Chinese and quote unquote, I hate the word third world, but third world labor, in order to cut costs for the American consumer and up their profit margins. Often also in order to get around like strong worker protections and those pesky unions, which have a lot more independence and freedom and a lot of more maybe liberal or democratic countries. Which I know is crazy to say. You would think, oh, what do you mean they have a lot more independence and freedom than in somewhere like China? Well, there's a question about independent unions, which China is not a big fan of because they say that those can be controlled by foreign forces. But a lot of times it's because those independent unions could challenge the standing political framework, the standing political power structure, because they might say, hey, you know, the ruling party is not doing this the right way. It's not as beneficial to the Chinese worker. And that could be a problem for, you know, the Chinese economy, or at least to the Chinese economic planners.
Wait, no, that's not true. You just said the same thing. The mode of production refers to the economy.
The mode of production refers to the industrial scale.
No, it refers to the economy.
System. No, it doesn't refer to the economy. You're getting it mixed up between the means of production and the mode of production. These are
a mode of production refers to the type of economy that a country has.
A mode of production refers to the technological advancement of their system. As it is, even the United States right now is a socialist mode of production. The means of production is owned by the bourgeoisie, but the mode of production is socialist.
The United States is socialist?
The mode of production in the United States is socialist through the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
You cannot have a socialist country if it doesn't have a socialist economy. That goes against base superstructure.
Again, you're getting confused. You're talking about the means of production, not the mode.
We're already socialist. Oh. Well, okay, comrades. I didn't know that the Reds had won. I was unfamiliar with that. I didn't know socialist premier of America, Donald J. Trump, could become president again to rule the social states of America.
Mode of production.
No,
all hail Premier Biden.
Superstructure of a society.
Anarcho-Bidenism is real.
Is determined by the base. The base of society being their type of economy.
The base of society, the mode of production is socialist, but the means of production is owned by the bourgeoisie.
Right, the means of production is owned by the bourgeoisie in China.
No, it is not. It's not owned by anything other than the Communist Party of China.
That doesn't make any sense. Because under that logic, Saudi Arabia is a socialist country.
No, Saudi Arabia is state capitalist.
How is China not state capitalist, but Saudi Arabia is?
Because it has the Marxist-Leninist party of the CCP.
That doesn't mean anything if the economy is not socialist.
The superstructure is socialist. The superstructure is socialist. And the mode of production, not the means, but the mode of production is socialist.
That doesn't make any sense.
Like I said, it does make sense if you actually read Marxist-Leninist ideas. I have. It's all just for show. You pretended to be part of the Communist Party, and you have clearly shown that you don't understand Marxist-Leninist principles at all. If you don't expand the mode of production, if you don't advance it, then China just would have been, you know, socialism and poverty or whatever. If we wanted socialism and poverty, you know, like we would just, you know, they would never expanded. It would be like Cuba is today. Cuba has socialism amongst poverty right now. China actually has socialism amongst wealth. And that's the fundamental difference. You want people to be impoverished. You don't want them actually prosper.
If I wanted people to be impoverished, why did I just say it was a good idea that they raise millions of people out of absolute poverty? I agree with that.
Because it's a lie. It's a lie.
It's not a lie. I'm not an ideologue.
If it was not a lie, then you wouldn't have been against the Chinese government, the CCP, and what they have effectively been doing.
I'm not against what they're doing. I'm happy that they did it.
Clearly, you must be. I mean, unless you're just saying that, oh, you know, I'm.
Daniel Hughes in chat just said, I worked on the Wall Street Journal Wagner documentary on behalf of Import Genius. I hope you find the research in the documentary insightful. I'm excited to watch it. Man, what great timing to release that documentary, huh? I saw how the views in the last few days have skyrocketed on the documentary. A week before the Wagner crew. Impeccable timing. Absolutely impeccable timing. And right, I think it was 4 days before the coup happened, I also released an interview with a fighter in Bakhmut describing how to fight Wagner, how they fought Wagner in Bakhmut, and how intense those battles were, and the strategies and the structure of Wagner. My goodness. A lot of really impeccable timing.
One of the fucking idiots that think that this is capitalism.
See, this is the problem. You can't take.
So I'm sorry that you're don't expose yourself to this brain rot. If you're working on actual like important documentaries, don't expose yourself to the brain rot we're watching right now. We're gonna watch the Wagner documentary later, but this will make it so you'll never be able to watch a documentary again. Do not watch disgusting, dirty debates like this. Lionel Hughes says, yeah, no, considering the months the Wall Street Journal team was working on it, sliding in a couple of weeks before the deranged coup the other day, crazy timing. Absolutely.
Take a pragmatic approach to these things. You can both think that that's a good idea without believing that China is a socialist country, because they betrayed the ideological principles the Communist Party stood for.
What ideological principles have they betrayed?
What ideological principles? So under Mao Zedong, the primary contradiction in China was between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. That changed under Deng Xiaoping.
Not necessarily, but
no,
okay.
That is actually what it was within the Communist Party Congress.
We're just ignoring the fact that the peasantry was the driving factor of the Chinese Revolution.
You're not arguing with me right now. You're arguing with Mao.
I'm not arguing with Mao. Mao did not betray the peasantry.
No, I'm telling you what the primary contradiction was according to the Chinese Communist Party under Mao. Through the CPC National Congress, that was what was decided upon.
I'm just sitting here realizing how pointless this entire conversation is. He's not gonna bring Maoism to the United States. Who cares? I'm sorry. Man, I just watch this for you guys, because you guys say you hate this stuff, but then every time I post any debate, watching somebody this unhinged, you know, ranting and screeching, you guys all flood in to watch the clown show.
Hello? He froze. I think oh, he's back?
Hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
LGBTQ plus CIA got him.
Can you show me where Zedong specifically said that the peasantry were not part of, it wasn't a class collaboration?
That's not what I was saying. I was talking about the principal contradiction.
That's what you're implying. You're implying that the only two.
Somebody in gutter chat said his neighbor's Wi-Fi cut out.
He froze again. Hello? Hello?
Dude, you would think with all of the, you know, all the videos we see of the monorail in China, right? And all this like big, like videos of their cities lighting up and like, wow, look how great China is. And all of those like investments in the infrastructure, they would be paying their agents a little bit better for the, for the Wi-Fi. Honestly, I think China would be better if they paid this guy not to talk about China. I think they'd honestly would reap more propaganda benefit if they just told this guy to shut up and stop going on shows and just paid him like a few $1,000s a month to just lounge around in alleyways or something.
His camera turned off.
I don't know why we got disconnected there, but nonetheless, you were saying?
Oh, yeah. Well, I did find an article. So this is Xinhua.net. Soon after 1949, the primary contradiction was the people versus imperialism, feudalism, and the remnants of the Kuomintang forces, which of
that's completely not what you argued.
No, I wasn't finished reading. That
was literally not what you argued.
That's not.
I didn't
finish the point.
It doesn't matter if you didn't.
No, because it was literally.
He literally won't. He's like, doesn't matter if you did finish. You don't get to finish. You've already been defeated. You've already activated my trap card.
Everything you already read.
No, it was the next
already
sentence.
contradicted what you said.
The primary contradiction evolved over time in China. You're literally arguing with the Chinese Communist Party's official news source.
Contradicted everything you just said.
No, I didn't.
Everything you just did.
If you let me finish.
Everything you just said.
If you wanted to let me finish the point, because I didn't finish reading, it was a single sentence.
You finishing your point is irrelevant. Your point that you're trying to make is irrelevant.
You're disagreeing with China right now.
The point you're trying to make is irrelevant.
Why are you disagreeing with China?
The contradiction.
Why do you hate the Chinese Communist Party?
Why are you lying about what China supports?
I'm not.
Now this conversation, we're 13 minutes in, and the conversation no longer exists. He seemed to have derailed it because Keffals was trying to like finish a quote that was supposed to support her point. He heard a section of it which did not confirm what he thought she was trying to get across, and instead of letting her finish her reading, as she's saying, look, you just need to read this later part. This later part's important. He instead shuts it down because, maybe he can like try to scrape out a W if he just keeps yelling. It does not allow her to finish her point. And so now with the conversation thoroughly derailed, she's just kind of poking him now back. Well, why do you hate the Chinese communists? And that's not his position either. So now they're just going to straw man each other for the rest of the conversation. I can already see it from a mile away. The conversation will not get back on track from this point. It's done. It's done. We just light up the candles in chat. Everybody put F in the chat for this conversation. It's dead. Okay, it was dead on arrival, but now it's dead. It's flatlined.
Do you want the link? I can.
The source that you just provided, what you just read,
yes,
proved the argument wrong.
No, it didn't, because I wasn't
literally
finished.
It did.
I wasn't
literally
finished.
It did.
I was
literally
not
it did.
finished.
No. Literally it did. It doesn't matter if you didn't finish. No, I'm not going to let you
so
finish.
So you hate China.
I'm not going to let. I love China,
no, you
and
don't,
I think
because
you
won't
hate
let
China.
me read the Chinese Communist Party's official news bulletin. You obviously don't care what China has to say. You're a white chauvinist and you hate the Chinese people.
Everything you just said.
I'm willing to listen to the Chinese people because I'm not a white chauvinist like you. And if you want to prove that you actually care about China, you should let me finish.
All the trans.
You're the white chauvinist. You're the white chauvinist. No, I'm much more Chinese than you.
And if you want to prove that you actually care about China, you should let me finish.
All the transgenders are fucking white chauvinists.
Okay, I just muted him, so I muted him so I can finish.
You're talking about Chinese communism. What about the white transgender chauvinist? What is it? Yeah, you know, that was in page 2 of Little Mal's Little Red Book. It is beware the white transgender anti-Chinese chauvinists.
Reading. So that evolved into proletariat versus bourgeoisie, which the Xinhua Net Bulletin says is a mentality which led to prolonged social turmoil across the country. In 1981, the CPC changed its assessment of the principal contradiction to the ever-growing material and cultural needs of the people versus backward social production, a historical policy shift at the heart of reform and opening up. Developing the economy mainly through growth was thus endorsed by the CPC as the central task. Market economic reform, seen at the time as the magic bullet to transform production, were released on a unprecedented scale. That is what I was trying to read. I don't know why you got so aggressive.
Your argument was disproven by everything you just read.
No, my only argument was that the principal
Keffals just boxed herself in. Every true red-blooded communist can see this now. Exposed.
Contradiction, according to the Communist Party's National Congress, used to be proletariat versus bourgeoisie, which is central to Marxist thought.
Before the actual Red Revolution, when Mao was trying to still work with the national.
By the way, I asked him if he's a Yankees fan about the hat, and he said no. I just want to point that out. I don't want this guy to get profiled as a Yankees fan. I don't want any of the Yankees fan out there to get unduly associated with this guy.
No, that was after the first.
As soon as Mao started working with the peasantry, he understood that it was a class collaboration
between year are you talking
the peasantry, the working class. Why do I have to bring up the exact year?
Because I'm trying to.
We already know the order of events. The order of events were Mao tried to work with the nationalists. He tried to just work with the working class to try to overthrow the bourgeoisie. It did not work. And then
One second. I got a question from Gutter Chat. Hey Dylan, recently started watching your content. Random question. Are you staying in Ukraine during your war coverage? Yep. I only really go back for usually the winter holidays. That's at least the idea. I thought maybe I'd go back late July for a family holiday at the beach, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, yep, I'm going to be going back near the winter holidays, which is also, I think, when my MOD stuff expires and I'd have to renew it anyway.
Once he realized that the nationalists were never going to work with him, he was forced to take, go into the fucking north and actually, fight a protracted people's war. And he went to the peasantry. That's who he went to. He didn't go to the workers. He understood this. This is a matter of historical fact. It's completely undeniable.
I'm talking about after 1949. That was when the primary contradiction changed.
You're not talking about 1949.
Yes, because before.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
What you're talking
I'm
about
literally reading
is contradicting exactly what the Chinese Communist Party, well, before they were a party, with the Red Revolution actually did. They worked with the peasantry.
I'm literally reading Chinese news to you right now.
And you know what, though? You're selecting works that have nothing to do with the reality of what we're talking about.
I'm reading the official documents from the 19th Communist Party of China National Congress. It doesn't matter what you're officially reading because we know what the circumstance was. We know that Mao.
You screw these official Chinese government documents. They don't prove anything about the Chinese government.
Failed to work with the nationalists and was forced to go to the countryside and talk with the peasantry and work with the peasantry. And it became a coalition of the working class, the peasantry, and sections of the small landlords and the petite bourgeoisie that fought against the Chinese nationalists
So, like,
and
I
the
need you to know I'm
imperialists that
not
were backing
disagreeing
them.
with you, but you're getting mad that I'm reading documents from the 19th CPC
I'm getting
National
mad
Congress.
that you are failing to actually argue your point.
I haven't even set up my point.
Your point about, oh, it was actually, you know, just the working class versus the bourgeoisie, it's just false. It's false.
What is false?
Keffals.
Your argument that it was only the working class and the bourgeoisie is false.
No,
False
I was
Keffals.
reading to you what the primary contradiction was in China in post 49.
That doesn't matter to your point. It doesn't matter. We
No,
know
it
what
does
the
matter.
actual
You
reality
didn't
was.
let me
No,
get
it
to my
doesn't matter.
point.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
does.
matter because you're a fucking retard. Okay, shut the fuck up.
I didn't consider that. I believe it was Engels who said that. I believe it was Engels that said that.
I know the history. You clearly don't.
You're the one who's yelling at me over reading official
I'm yelling
Chinese
at you
party
because you're a
documents to
fucking
you.
stupid troon. Okay, now shut the fuck up and realize the situation. China.
Do you feel like a big...
It's just literal. It's just slur time. It's just, hey, she's quoting official Chinese government documents at me that shows that there was a fundamental change between Mao's rule and the rule we have now in China that's allowing a lot more capitalist companies and a lot of capitalist modes of production to be imported to China in order to improve the amount of wealth that was being produced in the nation state. And instead of being like, you know what, I disagree with that, and making a coherent point, it's just slurs. It's just slurs, and trying to stop her from, you know, reading out her quote. Again, I don't see how this guy is a shining endorsement of the communist cause.
big boy now?
Under Mao.
You feeling like a big boy?
It was shown under Mao that he worked with the peasantry and he worked with the working class, the petite bourgeoisie, and the small-time landlords. And he built a class collaboration to fight the Chinese nationalists.
Okay, look. I have to mute you because you can't call me transphobic slurs on Twitch. You can do it in your Tankie Discord after this, but please be respectful for the platform. Nothing I said really constituted that kind of attack. That's a bit uncalled for. I haven't called you a single name.
I don't care how you feel. I really don't care how you feel.
By the way, he's 100% honest when he says that. In his belief, this is just how he functions, and this is how a lot of hardcore ideologues function. If you disagree with me, you should die. That's just how it is. I remember when his disagreement with Anastasia on Twitter. Anastasia is a Ukrainian living in Kharkiv, done a lot of aid work in Kharkiv and trying to get, you know, better equipment for people providing foods and meals in that area, better equipment for soldiers, night vision, ATV, stuff like that. When she talked about her father, you know, being killed in a strike by the Russian forces, a grad strike, a multiple rocket launcher system that killed him. He said it was good that he died, and he only wished that it had killed more people in the building. Because in his mind, she's a Ukraino-Nazi because she's Ukrainian. She has to die. That's as simple as it is. That's as simple as it is. If you disagree with his worldview, you have to die. These are the type of people who would probably, if they ever got control, would just like be perfectly comfortable with mowing down all their neighbors and countrymen and like a mass slaughter, producing mass graves in the entire country because they're psychotic and crazy. And ideologues who could never comprehend somebody else having a different interpretation of the world than them. And so this is what they resort to. They resort to insults, they resort to slurs, and they resort to a complete lack of care to the rules of engagement in conversation, or rules of engagement of anything, period. And so I am positive that if he had control over anything, which he never will, this guy will, when he kicks dirt eventually one day when he's 80, 90, or whenever, maybe sooner, who knows how he lives his life, no one will remember him for his political endeavors outside of maybe like a few funny YouTube videos. So it's not a real concern we need to have, but I do also want people to understand that this guy is like a heartless bastard and would give zero fucks about executing people who just slightly disagree with him on the internet because he's deranged.
why did you want to debate in the first place then?
The fucking debunk your bullshit, your fucking LGBTQ CIA agenda bullshit.
That's what you always.
So why are they talking about the Chinese Communist Party?
Yes, party documents to you. This has nothing to do with transgender
and you're
issues.
reading Chinese Communist Party documents without any context to what we're actually talking about. There is nothing that you're reading right now that's relevant to what we're talking about.
I think it is relevant. Absolutely.
You're a fucking retard.
Wow.
Okay, I mean, like, what I'm saying is relevant to bombard the headquarters, the short document written by Mao in 1966.
It's not relevant to the reality that we saw with China. It was class collaboration. It's undeniable. That is what happened.
Wait, what is undeniable?
That it was class collaboration. The Red Revolution was class collaboration. It was the working class, it was the peasantry, it was the petite bourgeoisie, and it was the small-time landlords.
Right, but the primary contradiction I was talking about occurred after the revolution.
The primary contradiction that we're talking about is in the context of the revolution. We're not talking about anything post that. You're bringing that up because you're...
That's what the whole point of the conversation. Her claim is that China is no longer a communist country because of a transformation that happened, a transformation that she's trying to quote, a transformation she's trying to describe through her quoting Communist Party documents. But instead of talking about that split after Mao died in Deng Xiaoping, he wants to concentrate on Mao Zedong, the Red Revolution, the pushing out of the Chinese nationalists, working with the peasantry to do that, which has nothing to do with the point she's trying to put forward. Just like what he's accusing her of doing is exactly what he's doing in reverse, bringing up something completely irrelevant to the point she's making.
Trying to
I mean, I started this conversation talking about the Cultural Revolution, which happened in the 19...
Have you ever considered that platforming this guy is basically a weird form of abuse? It's giving a mentally ill person a stage to spaz out on for our entertainment. So I think that there are just some people that are just like terrible people. And I don't know if this guy is mentally ill in the way where you can't have a conversation with him, as in he doesn't know what he's saying. I think he's fully aware of the words he's saying. I think he's aware of the things that he implies. I think he's aware of the slurs that he says. I don't think he is so mentally deranged that if engaging with him period is abuse towards him. I don't think it's like somebody that needs like a care person to look after them, right? I mean, considering, you know, the alleyway stuff, I mean, you can maybe make an argument it's close, but I don't think that's due to like some form of mental, like, how we could say compromise. I don't know, some problem up here. There might be something wrong up here, but I don't think it's to a point where if he goes online and makes public statements, we can't talk about it, we can't review it. Definitely if he's going out and saying things like, I hope Dylan's friends get killed in airstrikes because they're Ukrainian and the Ukraino-Nazis must die, then I have zero sympathy to begin with anyway.
I was not talking about the Cultural Revolution. I never was.
What?
I was never talking about the Cultural Revolution.
That was the point I was trying to make.
That's because you're fucking retarded. I wasn't arguing on the basis of the Cultural Revolution, so it's an irrelevant point.
No, it's relevant to my argument.
It's entirely irrelevant. Your argument is irrelevant because that's not the context of the argument I'm making. If you're actually going to make an argument, you should be actually addressing what I'm talking about instead of what you're bringing up that happened, a decade and a quarter into the future.
And you were getting mad at me because you don't like Chinese people. Your argument has nothing to do with that. Your argument has nothing to do with that. That's what was happening down the road.
I'm talking about what founded China, and what you're talking about is entirely
okay. But the person who founded China disagreed before his death on where China was headed as a country.
And Mao was losing his fucking mind by that point. Mao was at the point of where Reagan was towards the end of his presidency. That's irrelevant.
Wow. So you think the great chairman was insane?
I think that any person that stays in a position of power too long, that is not mentally with it as they get to, an elderly age, shouldn't be in a position of power. And that is proven when Mao is contradicting all of his works based on the conditions that he existed in during the revolution. So it's
you're
not a
saying
relevant
like
point.
the Marxist-Leninist governance model is inherently flawed because it allows people to stay in power for significantly long periods of time without checks.
Incorrect. That clearly didn't happen with Stalin. That clearly didn't happen with Lenin. They all died at a reasonable time period.
That's because
we
they
also
got
know
sick
for
and
a
died.
fact.
Yeah, it's not a great example. The reason why Stalin left isn't because he was like, you know what, guys, I think I'm starting to lose it. I'm stepping down. He died in a puddle of his own piss, and his guards were too angry to go in and check on him because of Stalin's temperament and how he treats people and executes people, like, pretty much on the spot.
That all other existing socialist countries also didn't really have this problem. It was really because of the conditions of the Chinese Communist Party and because of U.S. influence that China was having these issues at that time. And they clearly recovered. They clearly figured out the way to actually have people in power within a reasonable amount of time. We see that the Chinese system was capable of reform.
How did that
Something
change?
You're denying that exists.
What was the policy change?
Well, the policy change, what are you referring to? Specifically in the regards of old age or whatever?
Yeah, because
I don't know the exact name of the policy, but we can see that whatever China did, the end result was that there's no longer people in positions of political leadership that are so elderly that they're like go against everything that they fought for during a revolution. You know, like it's clear that the Chinese system reforms.
I mean, like, Xi Jinping has centralized more power around himself since Mao was in power. In fact, he's probably set him up into position to, if he really wanted to, if things continue as they are, because the situation in China always can change, to allow himself to be in that position basically for the rest of his life. And he has changed the rules and how China is governed specifically to make it so that he can extend his term in power, and so he can stay in there as long as he wants to. He's basically set it up so that if he wants to, he can be dictator for life. So I don't know what he's talking about, the idea that the system has now changed so that nobody could be in a position of power for too long in China. I don't know where he gets that from. If anything, I feel that this moment in Chinese history especially shows that not to be the case.
I can't pinpoint the exact policy, but I don't need to, because we can see the end condition of whatever policies are implemented.
Because that goes against any sort of Marxist analysis.
We can examine the conditions. We can examine the conditions. That's what we actually have to examine. It doesn't matter this Anglo box bullshit that you're trying to say that's something to do with Marxist-Leninism. No, that's bullshit.
What?
We know for a
fact
the Chinese system was capable of reforming.
How is that
the Chinese system, by trying to use so-called evidence as some sort of defense, when we can see what the end results of the conditions of these policies actually are. We can see what these end results of these policies are. We don't have to look into, you know, the fine details or whatever, because we see what the end results of the policies are. That is what actually is dialectical, is examining the conditions in which we exist.
What the Chinese Communist Party itself does.
You fail to do that. You fail to do that because you're a fucking, I can't say the word TOS, but you know what I mean.
Okay, I get it. You're a little angry boy.
He looks very angry. He's not a little angry boy. He is a big angry boy. Look at him. He is mad. He wanted to say a slur so bad, man. And Keffals she has basically said nothing this debate. She like a comment like every once in a while, and she'll make a point, he'll completely misinterpret it, and then just ramble around it for like a minute, 2-3 minutes, maybe get angry, yell a few slurs. Is this supposed to be a better performance for him? I don't know, man. It's impossible to say.
Need to keep turning this back to identity.
Like, I mean, I would say Keffals is giving him a lot more space than most people have.
Identity politics. But all I'm trying to do is talk to you about Chinese politics.
Because you're part of the LGBTQ CIA agenda. I know what you're pushing. You're trying to feminize the masculine people in our society. You're trying to turn everyone that you fucking can into some sort of TOS. And when you're doing...
My hair is long now. You know, when I was 12, I had short hair. Now I have long hair. It is working.
that you're purposely causing the reduction of this population. You are cursing the Western civilization.
How many kids does the Yankee Tankie have? I'd be very curious to see how much he's contributed to the gene pool.
Whether it be the United States, Germany, France, or Ireland, to an agenda that is going to kill off the human population over time and allow the bourgeois elites to be able to maintain their
that was interesting to me,
over
actually.
Western society.
I'm being completely for real with you. This just sounds like a bunch of this. It doesn't sound that different than just like the Jews are organizing against the white man to import the black people of the Africa and gonna like dilute the gene pool and the white purity of the white race. Like, this just sounds like just conspiratorial. This X minority group is plotting against the rest of us for the extinction of our people and our civilization. And if we do not act quickly, we will stop the. It just sounds like all the same tropes, man. Sounds like all the same tropes. Sounds like some people in Caspian just said he sounds like a LaRoucheite, or he's practically a LaRoucheite. Yeah, he sounds very similar actually to a lot of LaRoucheites that I've seen online. The LaRoucheites in person, they try to act a lot different than they do online. Like, if you meet the candidates, it's really strange the way that they act online, a lot of the way they act in person. This dog just barged in on me. Hello, dog. Hello, dog. Hello, dog. Okay, let's continue.
What you were saying about Ireland.
You are advocating for the WEF. You are advocating for the fascism of...
He meant the World Economic Forum, for anyone curious. Like the Klaus Schwab stuff that everybody posts like Facebook memes about with like big impact text that says Satanist, you know, that stuff.
Liberalism. That is what you advocate for.
I find it interesting that you can't actually have the conversation.
Hose your face. Thank you so much for the primer. Five months. What the holy shitballs, Murdi? Pardon my French. Keep doing it, young Prince of Maryland. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Go back to Doggo. Sorry, Doggo just laid down. He just passed out on the floor immediately. Doesn't sound different because it isn't. We call Tankies Red Fash for a reason. Yeah, true. Okay, one second. Let me go close the door. He opened the door. The dog came in, opened the door. And then came in. He just like, he pushed it down with his paw after jumping on it. He's learned this skill. Very impressive.
About China,
CIA agenda.
That you need to go to talking about trans issues when we were having a conversation about China. None of this has to do with your argument.
All of your arguments are on the basis of this lie that you can be a fucking woman when we know for a fact you are a man.
How is me reading 19th Communist Party of China National Congress documents?
Lucas,
what does that have to do?
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, so he's just dead naming her now. Man, he just you know what I think it is when I really listen to Yankee Tankie this debate, and I think it's starting to connect with me more what a lot of his motivation actually is. I think that his life is really sad, really, and I'm gonna be blunt here, kind of pathetic in a lot of ways. I mean, I don't know if you guys know the background of the Yankee Tankie, but he put his entire life on hold to go work for Caleb Maupin with the Center for Political Innovation, his I don't know, I think it's a think tank, and dedicate his life fully for the cause of Marxist-Leninism in the United States. And then he was exposed to how Caleb Maupin, acted in private with the spanking and the, weird, inappropriate sexual comments towards staff. He was part of the article that released that into the world. He broke off of that movement that he dedicated his time to, then called it a cult. So in his mind, he joined a cult and then found out that the cult leader was actually kind of a pervert, and then left the cult. And ever since then has been kind of like floating around. And that's why he was debating in an alleyway. And so I think that his life has become so painful, so disorganized, so, so, I don't know, listless, so like gone with the wind. Maybe, honestly, if you look at how Marx kind of lived his life, a lot of it was full of poverty and a lack of, job. And so I think he's maybe just projecting that into hateful rhetoric towards others, Like when Hitler came back from World War II, I wonder about this. He was actually homeless for a time period. I wonder if a lot of his radicalization happened during that homelessness, happened during that period.
Lucas, shut the fuck up.
Do you feel like
Your
a big boy?
LGBTQ CIA agenda bullshit, you will not be able to keep pushing this down the throats of the American people and the rest of Western society. You
Can I ask you,
will be crushed.
Can I ask you a question, just respectfully, about Ireland? Because I know that was something that you found contentious.
I can tell you that regardless of my knowledge of Irish politics, that the IRA back in the day would never have allowed a TOS to be able to just move to their country.
Right. So do you agree when one of the Republican first ministers said about a decade ago now that homosexuality should be made illegal?
No, I actually don't believe in that argument.
You don't?
I remember I asked him about like the torture that went on in Chechnya and the extrajudicial killings, and his commentary was like, I personally don't want being gay to be illegal, but I don't think anybody should really criticize Chechnya for like killing the gays or like any of its terrible stuff. So for him, it's like the rights and existence and survivability of gay people is just kind of like a non-issue. And if you get anywhere deeper than like, well, should they be allowed to live? He's gonna be like, okay, they should be allowed to live. But you get into any other LGBT issue, it's like screw 'em, screw 'em, screw 'em, screw 'em, screw 'em. Literally just, okay, they might be able to live. But then you listen to him talk about trans people, and he's like, we must crush them. We must annihilate them. We must round them up.
No.
Burns is a
interesting.
Trashomancer, thank you so much for the gifted tier 1 sub. I appreciate it.
Believe that you should incentivize traditional lifestyles. That's what I advocate for.
Oh, that was why they were trying to make that argument.
Which you don't incentivize traditional lifestyles just by banning the alternative. You actually financially, materially.
Well, he just said he wanted to crush. He's gonna crush the trans people. I mean, that doesn't sound very much like, oh, I'm just incentivizing, you know, having a white picket fence and some kids.
You know, promote the idea that you should get married to a woman and give you financial incentives to do so. That's what I advocate for. I want men and women to continue being able to get married and be able to afford having children. I want them to be able to have, you know, good material lives, and also rebuild the family unit, whether it be white Americans or black Americans or Hispanic Americans, it doesn't matter. We need families rebuilt in this country. And that's the kind of thing that, you know, this LGBTQ CIA agenda actually does. Personally, I don't really care. I might throw a slur here or there, but at the end of the day, I don't really care if gay people can get married. I don't really care that people as adults can legally transition, you know, and get the medical procedures they need to do that. That's their own body and their own choice. Just like I believe that you should have the right to, you know, I don't know what TOS is on Twitch, but get a or not. You know, you should be able to make that decision.
So you're forcing.
What's this debate about again? Well, originally it was about how China actually is still super communist and it's totally not capitalist now. And now the debate just seems to be like the LGBTQ plus CIA plus, which he has yet to really properly define, but he says is some Malthusian plot to undermine the demographic security of the Anglosphere or whatever.
Same-sex marriage, then.
You should also be able to have the choice to be able to get an abortion. I'm consistent on this issue, but ultimately, I do recognize the importance of incentivizing traditional families. I understand the importance of incentivizing religion, and I understand the importance of being able to maintain the main structure that will allow an American communist movement to happen. Because without the American family,
I mean, we were talking about Ireland.
No foundation. The closest, the core thing of communism is community. And what is the smallest, most basic form of community?
By the way, there were multiple communist regimes that wanted to make this, in a lot of ways, the state the family unit, or didn't wanted to kind of whittle down the security of the family unit, or wanted to have more control in the parenting of children and how they were educated, both ideologically and in other ways. Like, I don't even think what he's saying is true. The idea that you need to have a strong family unit in order to have a communist state.
That is the family, and that's exactly what you want to destroy.
But you're for same-sex marriage?
I don't care if gay people get married. That's not my problem.
Interesting.
What is my problem is everyone becoming feminized, everyone getting this agenda pushed down their fucking throats.
I mean, you're the one who's more...
Everyone getting feminized. Look, if someone wants to be feminine, they want to be feminine. On one level, he's like, look, I don't care what people do in their personal life, but if these femboys just keep prowling around, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to contain myself. Like, it's so silly, man.
Fixated on this. You realize that, right? Because like I came into this talking about China. I've only talked about Chinese Communist Party documents.
See, now you're pivoting back to this, but
yes, because that was what your initial argument was about.
I'm bringing this up. Why is this the reason I'm bringing this up? Because I understand that you're an unfaithful actor. You don't want to actually benefit the American people, and I'm not American. This is part of that basis. Yeah, now you're Irish. You don't want to benefit the Irish people. I wasn't
American before.
Whatever the fuck, you were Canadian, I don't give a shit. You don't give a shit about whatever Western country you came from and whatever Western country you go to. You don't give a shit about human people.
It's just, it's a cartoon character. You don't care about the humans. You only care about the Malthusian deep state transgenderizing agenda. You don't care about human people. I care about non-human people. Everybody, I only lobby for non-human people.
All you want to do is advocate for the LGBTQIA agenda, which is part of the...
Yes, and as we all know, the LGBT people are not under the category of human people.
Malthusian plot to reduce the population.
He keeps saying Malthusian.
To keep tearing apart our families in the United States.
You don't see how...
This is the thing, like if you... Like, Malthusian plot, why would Keffals have... I don't even think Keffals knows what Malthusian means. It's just like they're just like pinning so many labels and things that like Keffals just has no reason to believe or is given any indication that they do believe. But there's this image in this man's head of the enemy, right? The deep state enemy, the Malthusians, the CIA, the gays, like all these different enemies. And so Keffals disagrees with him politically, so she is a representation of every enemy and therefore is the epitome of evil, and therefore on a basic level just hates human beings, and that's the only way it can exist. That's the only way he can possibly view her. It can't be, oh, she has a different interpretation of the world around herself than I have of the world around me. No. It's all a deep state plot with a deep intention to destroy the world.
To say that
we won't ever be able to stand against U.S. imperialism.
Are you capable of making your argument without yelling about it? Because I haven't done anything even half as aggressive to you.
Why do you care that I fucking yell? Stop being a little fucking bitch and actually fucking listen to what I'm goddamn saying.
Why are you so mad? Who hurt you?
Why am I so mad? Because you're advocating for the LGBTQIA agenda. You're advocating for reducing the population. You're advocating for eco-fascism. You're advocating for all of this shit.
Where she said none of these things. At no point has she talked about even like environmental policies during this conversation. She hasn't mentioned environmental policies. She hasn't mentioned demographics or population growth or the need to decrease the pop. None of these things have been mentioned. I've never heard, I don't think I've even heard Keffals ever talk about these issues. I don't think I've ever actually heard Keffals talk about climate change. And I'm not a big Keffals watcher, but I don't even remember her talking about climate change. Is that a big thing she's known for? Is she known for saying like we need to like depopulate New York and make it a big old like solar farm or something? I have no clue. He's just assuming that he's just thinking of everything he doesn't like, or he has like a bad kind of interpretation of, you know, like a stereotype of in his head. And he's just applying every single one of those labels to her so he can justify his dehumanization of her and people like her.
That the U.S. imperialists and the
explain how I advocated for eco-fascism?
Stop interrupting me, you fucking cuck!
What?
Let me tell you what the fucking facts are.
Do these insults mean anything?
You fucking stupid... I can't say that. Goddamn fucking Twitch TOS.
Why do you have to go to this extent?
Let me fucking tell you.
No, I'm listening.
She's barely talked at all. It doesn't take much to rile them up.
I just want to know why you're so mad.
Okay, let me tell you what the facts are. The facts are, that's what you want to do. You want to reduce the population. You want to promote eco-fascism. And that's why you're against China. Because China is actually trying to lift people out of poverty.
Didn't China have a one-child policy? If you have a problem with population control, didn't China until very recently have a one-child policy and now has a two-child policy, still limiting the amount of children people have? And they're talking about raising that more. How can you be so enthusiastic about China and Chinese communism while being so angry about the idea of population control and then just overlook that glaring fact? The United States has never done anything remotely close to what China has done when it comes to population control measures, and nothing has been proposed that is remotely close to those population control measures.
Not against China.
Reducing the population. You are against China. We know you're against China. We know you're against Russia. We know you're
How am I against Russia?
Libya. We know that you're against
Gaddafi's Libya. Okay, look, I could say I don't like Gaddafi. Gaddafi was not I'm going to say he's not a chill dude or whatever, right? Even though a lot of people now kind of try to kind of whitewash the history of Gaddafi, pretend he was going to make some united Africa, even though most African nations hated Gaddafi. But ignoring any of the history around Gaddafi and the failure of American interventionism in Libya, and how we went over the mandate that was given to us by the UN, and the French went over the mandate that was given to us by the UN. Putting all that aside, when has Keffals ever talked about Gaddafi? Was there a Gaddafi Keffals arc that I'm not familiar with, where Keffals in the 2009 was with Gaddafi in his inner circle or something, and then switched and turned him into the deep state? Has anybody ever, I don't know if there's anyone in here that's ever listened to any Keffals content or watched her outside of us watching her on the channel. Have any of you guys ever even seen Keffals mention Gaddafi? I can't think of a time that she's mentioned Gaddafi on stream. Again, he's just projecting everything he doesn't like or that he's heard about on YouTube videos or podcasts onto her.
Explain to me a single position that I have made that is anti any of those things.
Anti-imperialist country in the world. We know this.
China is imperialist.
You promote the LGBT.
China is one of the largest imperialist countries in the world. What are you talking about?
Everything is linked back to that, Keffals. That is what the facts of the situation are. That's what the facts are. You are part of this LGBTQ CIA agenda, and that's why you fundamentally.
He's having so much fun saying those letters.
You're not an honest actor.
He's so proud of that insult. He's so proud of that attack. He just can't stop saying it. God, I'm loving the screen caps we're getting when we pause. It's fantastic.
You can't even be honest about what gender you are.
What? Did you think that was a really funny zinger? But anyway, what I was saying is that China is one of the largest imperialist countries in the world, and if you actually read Marxist-Leninist literature, you would agree with that point. Lenin made it very clearly in Imperialism, the Highest State of Capitalism, outlining what exactly imperialism is, and China fits pretty well into that box.
I can't hear anything he's saying. His mic, this is the thing that's even better about Yankee Tankie, is he refuses to invest in any decent mic setup to accommodate the yelling that he loves to do. And so when he gets really loud, it actually reaches a point where he peaks and then you can't even hear him anymore. So he, in a way, almost his technological incompetence kind of holds him back from being too annoying, because if we could hear him yelling at the top of his lungs, if he had a better mic setup, it'd probably be even worse.
TOS little cop.
Do I know what?
TOS little cop.
I don't understand what you're saying.
TOS little cop.
See, this This isn't Marxist behavior in the slightest. Like, I knew you weren't really a communist.
Not Marxist behavior.
Communists are capable of actually engaging in a dialectic. You give me your points, I'll give you my points. We can meet in the middle and come to a mutual understanding.
The only real communist that you see in the United States.
Let me ask you a question.
Is what it is. It's your brand or you're getting fascism. That's the reality. Either you support the MAGA communists that are fighting against the LGBT.
I need you to know you're yelling so loud you're blowing out your microphone and no one in chat can understand what you're saying.
Okay, so I was trying my hardest to try to make out a single word. And if you're curious of what he said, he basically said that if you're anything besides a MAGA communist, you are a fascist. That was his translation. So if you're an anarchist, you're a fascist. If you're just a conservative, you're a fascist. If you're a liberal, you're a fascist. Like everybody else is a fascist. That's what I was able to make out.
You're fighting against the LGBTQ CIA agenda, are you not? Is that what you're actually trying to say? Because
what's a MAGA communist? Well, it's somebody who combines the... Oh God, I don't want to initiate you to this. This feels like me introducing somebody to heroin by me like telling you what a MAGA communist is. A MAGA communist is somebody who is a Make America Great Again guy, you know, a Trumper who believes in the MAGA movement, you know, the Kerry Lake types, the Donald Trump types, you get that. And also Marxist-Leninism, usually kind of more authoritarian style, Stalinism, stuff like that. That's a Marxist, Leninist, MAGA communist type. That's what he's saying is the only true path forward for the American socialist movement, and everything else is fascism.
That's the only real communists are fighting against that. You aren't fighting against that.
What?
We know you're not fighting against that because you're literally promoting the LGBTQ.
So is
CIA
Cuba
agenda.
not communist?
I mean, it's really not communist anymore. It's clearly been taken over by the U.S. imperialists.
Dog, we still have the embargo. How do we still have the embargo? But we're also, why would we be embargoing a country that has been taken over by our imperialists? If we took over Cuba, why would we be embargoing them? Dude, like 90% of the reason that the embargo on Cuba is still on is for like the Miami vote. There's like we can get into the depths of like American-Cuban relations, but in no interpretation of American-Cuban relations is the conclusion that Cuba is currently controlled by American imperialists. So in his mind, China, which has private property enshrined in the Constitution, this happened during Deng Xiaoping's time, that's communist. But Cuba isn't communist because America. Okay, got you. Communism, understander, has long dawned.
You would get kicked out of any communist organization anywhere for making that statement.
I'm already banned from the CPUSA. I'm already banned from the PCUSA. I'm already banned from PSL. I don't give a shit.
Damn, he got banned from everyone, man. What's that one socialist song? This guy's the perfect representation of it. He's got banned from everywhere. He's getting banned from the most fringe political parties. One second. What's that one song? Party of One, was it? I gotta find it. I'm making a party of one. I can't find that old. It's kind of like a comical commie song. I can't find it. Maybe I'll find it off stream.
You think that is?
You think I give a shit? Why do I think that is? Because the overwhelming majority of communist organizations in the United States are bought and controlled by the CIA, the FBI, and the U.S. State Department. And we know this for a fact.
So, did you want to continue with the conversation about China? Like, I get,
dude, there's only one true communist party in the whole country, by the way, and the whole, not even the whole country, in the whole world. This is the only true communist party is the Japanese Communist Party. Okay, we're done. Now they're rapping about minimum wage. Okay, I think that's enough. Back to the debate.
Get it. You hate that I'm trans. It's fine, but it's really not relevant to the conversation.
You know, you're not being honest about any topic, whether we're talking about China or we're talking about Russia.
I've only quoted Chinese documents, so unless you're saying that the Chinese Communist Party is
Libya, when is she talking about Libya, man? Dude, I'm sorry. I missed when Keffals wrote like an autobiography of like Muammar Gaddafi and wrote like a chronicle, like a 3-book series on the history of the Libyan civil war. I missed that. I missed her Yale lectures about the history of Khalifa Haftar.
Is dishonest.
Whether no matter who you're talking about, you're not coming from an honest angle. It doesn't matter what you read. It doesn't matter what context you try to put in. Because the core of it is that you support the LGBTQIA agenda.
So you're telling me that reading theory isn't necessary to being a communist.
We literally cannot trust you on any topic because you don't even know if you're a man or a woman.
You're telling me reading theory?
It's always back. It always goes back to the
theory
one thing. It always goes back to her being trans. She'll be like, okay, so this is what I believe the minimum wage should be. Okay, yes, but have you considered that you're trans? Like, no matter what, he needs to bring it back to the fact that she's trans in order to discredit her because he doesn't know how to have a normal conversation with somebody.
Nothing to do with being a communist? Like, you
cannot actually articulate theory in any constructive way whatsoever.
I mean, I can. If you would be willing to calm down and actually have the discussion, I'm more than willing to.
Any point. You cannot argue any point until you admit you're a man.
Every time I try to set up an argument, you get real.
What? She can't have any political discussion until she completely detransitions? Until she detransitions and gives up her gender identity, she can't have a political discussion? Okay. I forgot. That was Marx clearly wrote that ew ew icky transgenders ew 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 subscribe to Michael Knowles. I think that was in the middle of Das Kapital. I forgot that.
Really mad and you start going off about trans issues.
About you setting up an argument. You think I'm here so you can set up arguments, bitch?
Yes, this was what the
He claims that she's not a woman, but then calls her bitch, which is gender reaffirming. He needs to pick a lane.
Point of a debate was.
You think this is? Be real with yourself.
Be real with myself?
I'm the motherfucking Yankee Tankie, bitch. No one gets to come and construct fucking arguments when it comes to me.
So you're not a communist?
Everything before you even try to fucking start an argument. Why? Because that's what the Yankee Tankie is all about. It's revealing the garbage, revealing the trash, revealing the garbage and trash.
I mean, so far all I've got from you is you hate Mao, you think China is dishonest, you don't think China's socialist, you don't think Cuba's socialist. It just sounds like you're not very much of a Marxist-Leninist at all. Like, I've met.
Just quickly say, he said he was banned from basically every communist party in the country. When he says we, who is he talking about? Like him and the 500 other MAGA communists? Like in the whole country? Like when he says we, what does he mean? It's the royal we. Yeah, probably the royal we.
Met Marxist-Leninists from all across the world, and none of them act like you or have these very bizarre esoteric beliefs.
I'm not on the left.
Oh, there it is. Somebody actually found the song I was talking about earlier. Okay, dope. Let me go pick it up. That old commie song, that old red song, that old comedic commie song. Where is it? Here it is.
Bill Bailey belonged to every radical party that ever came to be, till he finally decided to start his own party so he wouldn't disagree. He got himself an office with a sign outside the door with Marxist League in letters red, and to everyone who came around, these were the words he said. Oh, you may be a friend of Max Shackman, Jim Cannon, and you may agree. You may get along with Norman Thomas and with Algernon Lee. You may be an old-time wobbly and think J-Love sounds fine. Yes, you may be a comrade to all of those folks, but you ain't no comrade of mine.
Okay, that's enough. Back to the debate.
I am a right-wing communist, you fucking moron. I'm a MAGA communist. I never pretended to be on the left. Fuck the left. The left is going to lead us down the pathway of destruction. The left is going to always side with Big Pharma. The left is always going to...
Dude, I don't understand how you can be a communist and then put MAGA in your name, knowing that Donald Trump is one of the most loud and proud capitalists in the United States and has made being a ruthless capitalist part of his aesthetic, with golden toilets and extravagant wealth in casinos, which is basically a scam. I mean, casinos are a scam. I mean, like, every once in a while someone hits, but I mean, the whole point of a casino is that you get to take a bunch of dumb schmucks' money. There's a reason why the many different states still have casinos and that type of gambling banned, right? But his casino still failed. But he's like a loud and proud capitalist who loves the aesthetic of aggressive, ruthless capitalism, and surrounded himself in his administration with other ruthless soldiers of capitalism like Rex Tillerson, who was his Secretary of State. I met Rex Tillerson when I was working at the Model UN. It was a really weird experience. When I said working at Model UN, when I was in Model UN in high school, we went to like a UN event where we're all like pretending to be different countries. I believe my role was Hungary. And when he came in, my reaction I had was, oh my God, that's the Secretary of State. That's Rex Tillerson. Oh, that's Rex Tillerson. Oh, that's Rex Tillerson. Because the reason he got his job was because of his connections to the oil and gas industry as a former natural gas executive. That's the person who is picking a natural gas executive, an oil and gas company, Isaac, to be his Secretary of State. That's the person that's going to lead the MAGA communist movement and the movement of the communist age.
Bookworm_AF gifted 5 tier 1 subscriptions. This is the song with the "I'm forming a party of one" line.
Oh, did somebody else find another song? Because I think there was 2 sectarian songs. Actually, I think you might be right that I might have, because I was thinking, I think possibly of a different song, because I didn't hear the party of one line, but that is also a different communist sectarian song I knew of. 1 second. Thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1. Yes, this is the one I was talking about. Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to be done playing these commie songs in a second here, but second. Yeah, remember when strong communist Donald Trump sold all those weapons to Saudi Arabia for them to blow up Yemeni children? Very strong communist values.
If you're offended by the song, it's probably about you. Workers' World says that they have all the answers, and Milosevic is a guy that they admire. The ISO says Trotsky is the man, and they'll debate it until they all expire. The industrial workers will lead the revolution, so says the SWP. No, the truth lies with the lumpen. That's the RCP. The Sparts say the rest can go to hell, and everyone else is a Stalinist. The CP will just do their thing and pretend that the others don't exist. Well, I had a realization this morning as I looked into the red and dawning sun. I figured out the truth, and I'm forming a party of one. 'Cause I am the leader of the workers, and I'll tell you why the left is suspect. 'Cause there's something you don't understand. Only my line is correct. Yeah, I am the vanguard of the masses, and all of you should just follow me. And if you doubt my analysis, you must be in the petty bourgeoisie.
Unironically, this is just the Yankee Tankie song. Okay, sorry, back to this.
To side with the U.S. imperialists. They're always going to side with the nonprofit organizations. They're always going to do that. They're bought and paid for. The right wing is where the real revolutionary movement in the United States is, and by Karl Marx standard, the right wing in the United States is the actual left wing of the United States.
Are you finished? Can I make my point now?
If you're stopping TOS.
Okay, dude. So you were wrong about base and superstructure.
No, I'm not. It's
yes.
new Marxist analysts.
Yes, you are, because the base isn't the means of production, and the means of production refers to tools, machines, factories, land, raw material. But the base is also the relations of production.
Just like Lenin. Just like Lenin.
Huh?
Just like Lenin.
Just like Lenin what?
Just like Lenin. Shut the fuck up. Just like Lenin.
Just like Lenin.
Just like Lenin expanded from Karl Marx with his ideological differences, realizing that Karl Marx wasn't completely right. Lenin expanded on Karl Marx.
What?
And likewise,
how did Lenin change base and superstructure?
Lenin changed a lot of different things. I'm doing the same thing here.
Wait, so you're changing Marxist theory on the fly in order to win an argument about Marxist theory?
What the material it's not on the fly. I have been examining these conditions for an extremely long time. We can recognize that
dude, he was sitting in that alleyway. He was sitting in that alleyway watching people walk by like, yes, yeah, he got a deep. He's been watching the economic situation very closely. He's a very astute analyzer of the world's conditions.
The current global order and how things are set up now, it's not even capitalism anymore. It's socialism.
So you realize how silly that is, because like when the Communist Party of China says that it's analyzing, when they say that they're analyzing material conditions, every single national congress, they are analyzing the economic data of every factory in the country in order to come to conclusions about the material conditions, because material conditions aren't about your feelings, they're about actual raw data.
The only thing silly right now, Keffals, is the fact that you don't recognize what gender you are.
That's so true.
Why can't he focus on anything else besides Keffals' gender?
You totally own me there.
It's fucking hilarious. It's fucking hilarious.
You're
a fucking goofball. Regular old
goofball.
Silly little fucking...
Just a silly little rascal.
Fucking silly fucking goofball. It's what you fucking are.
That's
goofball,
so
silly Billy.
You actually are. Okay.
Are you like horny for me now?
The facts are.
It's usually when people call me a silly little goofball, they start making out with me afterwards.
If we actually examine the material conditions as they exist, we no longer exist under capitalism. We live under socialism for the rich. The mode of production, which is separate from the means of production, okay, has become socialized. That is what the information age is. That is what the fourth industrial revolution is. That's the conditions in which we exist, that the mode of production has changed.
What is the relations of production?
Has not. I'm not fucking done, Keffals. Okay.
I'm just asking you to explain to my audience, which is full of like forced feminized CIA cucks, and I don't think they know what the relations of production are, so maybe you could explain it to them.
I'm really happy with how the feminization process of the CIA has improved over the years. It's a lot more convenient now. I mean, they used to have to like do it all, you know, anally with the pill insertion, but now it's, you know, just like one tablet a week. It's fantastic.
The mode of production is
no relations of production.
The relationship between the mode and the means of production, while they still are part of the section of the base, are two separate parts.
True, chat. The gay ray has really helped streamline homosexual production
of the base. So the base is still controlled by the American and Western superstructure. But the mode of production, the amount of the kind of technology has inherently socialized. What the information age is, the fourth industrial revolution.
That didn't explain what is the relations of production.
I'm not fucking done, Keffals. Shut the fuck up.
No, you're going on a tangent. I just want you to explain.
Shut the fuck up. If you're going to go on a tangent, I'm going to go on a tangent.
I'm not on a tangent.
Fucking TOS. Now, let's fucking focus here with your ADHD brain and fucking focus on what I'm fucking talking about. So, the base and the superstructure.
I'm sorry, but... the idea of him criticizing anyone else's brain for being unable to pay attention is It's glorious.
Might still be two separate segments, but the superstructure only has control of the base, but it doesn't mean that the technology that's being utilized isn't socialist just due to the ownership. In fact, it is inherently socialist because
this doesn't
it is
answer the
operating on a
question.
social means of production.
The question was, what is the relations of production? Explain without explaining base or superstructure. These are different concepts.
No, I will continue to say what I'm saying because what you're trying to argue is irrelevant to the point.
I wasn't arguing anything. I was asking a question.
I don't give a shit what you were trying to ask me. I'm telling you how it fucking is, you fucking TOS. Now, let's fucking focus here with your fucking addled HDA porn brain.
What?
The facts are.
Why is this? Why it's so focused on gender, sexuality, porn? It's completely unrelated to anything that they've been talking about.
The facts are that the base of production has been socialized. Even if the ownership has not changed, the base of the structure has been socialized.
By the way, what's an HDA porn brain? I think, did he mean ADHD porn brain? I don't know.
Revolution. And what that means is that we no longer have a for-profit system.
Okay, but can you explain what the relations of production is?
I'm not fucking done. We do not have Keffals. We're not fucking done here. Focus your porn-addled ADH fucking D.
Look, I've been very charitable to you.
Goddamn minutes.
I know you don't know what you're talking about, but I wanted to give you a chance to explain.
You fucking TOS fucking focus.
I have taken an entire college course at a Chinese university on socialism with Chinese characteristics. For you to do that, to just say I don't know what I'm talking about, just really reveals that most of your politics is from like r/politics balls. Let's be honest.
For 2 minutes. Your porn-addled brain is incapable.
How do you know my brain is porn-addled?
I know because you're fucking TOS.
How do you know my brain is porn-addled? Exactly.
You're fucking porn-addled. It's obvious you're porn-addled. You're pretending to be a fucking woman. Now, let's fucking focus with your ADHD.
How am I pretending to be a woman?
That's focus with your ADHD.
I mean, I've been focusing. Brain. I've been asking you to explain one concept.
Not focusing.
Just one Marxist concept. And you can't explain it. You know you don't know what it means, so you keep pivoting.
Fucking TOS. You porn-addled TOS. Shut the fuck up. No.
I think what the insult is there's this idea, or there's this theory that the real reason why there's trans people is because they just watched a bunch of femboy porn or something, and that it make them feel feminine or want to be feminine, and this is all like a fetish for them, and it is all sexually driven. I don't understand why someone would go through the surgery, pay the tens of thousands of dollars, all these doctors would be in on it, all for a fetish, for them to make this permanent commitment when they could just, like, I don't know, cross-dress? If it was just sexual, why wouldn't they just go cross-dress and just because you just take that off, and then you don't have to pay tens of thousands of dollars for surgery and consultations with therapists and medicine and HRT and all this stuff, and I don't know why would you go through that whole process. Just put on a skirt and get plowed if that's the goal. The theory never made any sense to me.
No one cares.
No one cares about what?
Shut the fuck up, you porn-addled brain.
How am I porn-addled?
Shut the fuck up, porn-addled.
How?
Now,
explain.
Shut the fuck up, you fucking train.
Can you explain to me why you can't have a conversation about Chinese politics without devolving into transgender slurs?
Shutting the fuck up when I'm talking to you.
Okay, so I muted him again because he can't have this conversation like a grown-up without calling me slurs, which, you know, I haven't actually insulted him in any way like that. This is really a behavioral issue on his part, and probably why he's been banned from all these organizations.
True.
The relationship of production refers to the relationship between different classes in society, and the relationship...
Why does he drink so aggressively? Have you noticed that? Anytime he like picks up his water bottle or...
on his part, and probably why he's been banned from all these organizations. The relationship of production refers to the
that time, you know, it was semi-normal. Never mind.
Relationship.
I'm going crazy. The crazy's wiping off on me.
Between different classes in society, and the relationship to private property, capital, and commodities in that society.
Sassy drinking more than aggressive drinking.
If the base of a society is not socialist, the superstructure cannot be socialist.
He cannot be going like this. And all of this debate is just him rambling and yelling.
Okay, you back? You ready?
Okay, now, as I was saying, the superstructure, while it still has control of the base, no longer is as you're trying to explain it. It no longer exists in that capacity. And the evidence is that our system is no longer for profit. We are existing within a fourth industrial revolution that has changed the mode of production, not the means, the mode of production, to a socialized mode of production. This has fundamentally changed how the U.S. imperialists operate, because while the same people are still under control of the system, they're not able to operate in the same way they did under an imperialist.
Okay, I want to talk about something because somebody just put this in chat, and I understand people's inclination with this, right? The this shows like Prigozhin's plane, his business jet, traveled to Moscow from Belarus, and so the conclusion that's made by this Twitter account is Prigozhin arrived in Belarus and within a day was like, nah, fuck this. So there was a lot of like personal planes and stuff during the security crisis traveling around. Lukashenko's plane, I think there were some rumors about Putin's plane, but where exactly they were. Let me just put two things forward. First thing is it possible that Prigozhin just went back to Moscow? Yeah, I guess that is possible, but it's also perfectly possible that Prigozhin sent his private plane to Moscow to pick people up, to then bring them back to Belarus, because right now he's trying to consolidate whatever he can that's left of Wagner when it comes to resources and gold that hasn't been seized by the government during their raid on his St. Petersburg office, and whatever Wagner boys he can take to Belarus. As Putin publicly stated, if you want to go home as one of these Wagner guys who participated in the coup, you can go home. If you want to sign an MOD contract, you can sign an MOD contract. If you want to go to Belarus, you can do that as well. So this might be him picking up people too. So I don't want to... So when you see these like personal planes moving around and you're tracking the flight logs, don't always assume that the person who owns the plane is on the plane. People who own planes a lot of times send them places to go pick people up for them, or they need to like, hey, I need you to be here at this time. You can use my plane. That happens all the time too. Anyway, where were we? Oh, yes.
Monopoly capitalist system, which is no longer existing. We now have socialism for the rich. Corporations and monopolies have effectively merged with the state. It's a form of either, whether you want to call it fascism or socialism for the rich, whatever the case you might want to categorize that is, the facts are that we no longer operate for profit. There is no longer an anarchy of production. And it's been proven. Look at what situation happened with Bud Light. You know, the beer that all these right-wingers are trying to actually, you know, boycott or whatever, the company that owns Bud Light, they're still making a shit ton of fucking money. Why? Because they own almost all of the fucking beer companies. They already own a monopoly, right? And that's how monopolies operate in the 21st century. Monopolies don't operate like they did in the 20th century, where it was just about crushing competition and maximizing profits. Now, monopolies operate not for profit, but to maintain the social structure, maintain the superstructure from the top. You know, no amount of profits matter anymore. There is no anarchy.
I kind of agree with you, but it is wrong-headed. They control the base, not the superstructure, but because they control the base, they're allowed to influence the superstructure. Whoever controls the economy controls society.
Right, which is why it is no longer capitalist. It is socialist or fascist or whatever you want to categorize it as.
So why were you being so aggressive? If we actually had the dialectic in the first place, we could come to a conclusion. Like, we just agreed with each other.
Because you're a fucking TOS.
It's just hate. It's literally, you're trans and I hate you. That's all it is.
To be combative with you because you're a TOS.
Why did he call her out for a debate if all of his like intellectual inquiry into like Keffals' ideology is just everything you say is wrong because you're trans? That's literally it. That's the height of his intellectual engagement with Keffals. Why did he call her out when he debated me? I don't even remember that he did that. I guess it wasn't really that particularly important to me. I don't remember much of my actual conversation with him. All I remember is him screaming and screeching and acting like a clown and a window-licking knuckle dragger. That's all I remember. I don't remember any call outs, but he made the call out. But did he just make the call out so he could go in a call with her and say, look, I'm just going to lecture you for an hour and then tell you that everything you say doesn't matter because you're trans?
Now, if maybe, just maybe, you're one of the TOSs that actually didn't push the agenda down your throat, maybe we can have a real conversation.
This is really sad, dude.
You advocate for the LGBTQCIA agenda.
So you think that my plot is that I want to reduce the population, but here you are defending the country that had the one-child policy.
The one-child policy was a mistake. I agree with that, but that doesn't mean.
Damn, got him. China's not really communist.
I stopped supporting China.
Prove it. Dunked on. Done forever.
There's many policies that China has done, like, for example, the zero COVID policy. I disagreed with that policy, right? But at the end of the day, though, that's not the primary contradiction. The primary contradiction is U.S. imperialism.
That's not true. Imperialism is not the primary contradiction in China.
I am an American citizen.
Yes.
What I care about is tearing apart the U.S. imperialist state. Right? So why does Chinese policy matter to me?
Why does?
Then why'd you even enter a conversation about like theory in China and say you support China or believe anything about China? You can't like claim you have all this information about China and you have all these opinions about China and everybody disagrees about China is wrong and everybody's smearing China, and then at the end of it be like, why should I care about China? Don't you know I'm a red, white, blue American? Then why'd you talk about it? Why do you have an opinion yourself?
Because we're having an argument about Chinese policy.
Unless China's policies specifically are damaging U.S. Anti-imperialists and their ability to overthrow.
They are, because China is an imperialist country.
No, that's incorrect. No, China is actually benefiting us by splitting up the unipolar world.
Have you seen any of the analysis of African communist parties and what they believe about China's neo-colonialist practices?
I think that they're irrelevant because
you think that African communists are irrelevant.
Yes, yeah. If the African communists are siding against China, siding against Russia, siding against the multipolar world, and siding with the unipolar world, they are my enemy.
That's another thing about a lot of the multipolar world order guys. The guys who really want a multipolar world order. Some people want it because they just want to see, other nations outside of the United States have more leverage in international affairs. But for some people, it's they are not America, so they should win every engagement, no matter how immoral. If Russia was to go into like Morocco tomorrow and start putting babies on like bayonets and throwing them into like canals for the goal of, challenging the United States, he would give a thumbs up to it, because as long as it's confronting the United States, it's good. It's the same reason that he was so willingly to be like, yes, more Ukrainian civilians should die. I don't care that your father was killed in this drone in these rocket strikes. I hope you died as well. It's because they are on the other end of a geopolitical conflict that he wants the Russians to win. Therefore, they are all inhuman. They are not for humans. They are against his model of politics, and therefore they don't deserve life. He is really sick in the head when it comes to his actual beliefs and morality.
I don't care if you call.
He's also a clown, so it's hard to take it seriously and be like, oh, and be so disgusted by it, because this guy will never be in a position of power ever.
Yourself a communist is irrelevant. There's plenty of people in the United States and other Western countries that call
African
themselves
communists are your enemy.
My enemy too. Anyone who is not fighting effectively against the U.S.
because you don't read Lenin
is my enemy.
And if you read Lenin, you would understand how China is an imperialist country.
I have expanded on Lenin. Lenin is not. Marxism doesn't remain the same. Okay.
You don't even know. When I was trying to, when I showed you that the primary contradiction in China is not imperialism, you just said, "Why does it matter?"
You fucking TOS.
This is crazy, dude. You actually can't have a conversation about theory. You have to go back to trans issues because it's an easy win in for you.
Because you won't shut the fuck up. If you don't shut the fuck up, I'm going to go back to this fucking issue.
I have been so nice to you this entire time.
Interrupt me. I don't want you to be nice to me. I want you to be rude. I want you to be who you fucking actually are. I don't.
What do you mean who I actually am? I'm trying to have this debate with you.
You actually are. You advocate for the LGBTQ CIA agenda. You are my enemy, and it doesn't matter what you fucking say. It doesn't matter.
So you don't think China's relevant?
My enemy for as long as you advocate for the LGBTQ CIA agenda. I don't care the fact you're trans, okay?
You actually do.
People, and there's
you
bad
really
trans
do.
People, and you're a bad trans person is what it gets down to.
That's true. I am very much a bad trans person. However, would you like to actually have the discussion about Chinese politics?
It has nothing to do with your personal choice. You advocate for this shit because you're trying to reduce
this is irrelevant to the arguments you were making about China.
You're trying to reduce
and I would kindly like you to get back onto the topic at hand.
Population. I'd love to. Shut the fuck up and let me speak, and then you will be allowed to speak when I fucking tell you you're allowed to speak.
Yeah. Oh fuck! I'm getting so horny. Thank you, Daddy. I'll shut up.
Of course, you fucking people just always fucking go right back to the degeneracy. Fucking weirdo.
You're the.
I'm sorry. I mean, you can't just like lean into a power fast like you will only be allowed to speak when I speak, and then somebody fucks with it and you're like, oh my god, the degenerate. You've been talking about porn. He's mentioned porn like 7 or 8 times. 7 or 8 times. She finally leans into it, and now he's like, I've got the evidence of the degeneracy. I've got the evidence of the degeneracy after I ranted about porn and trans people and the feminization of men for about like 20 minutes. Man, he's finally exposed her. I mean, I don't know how she repairs from this. I don't know how she comes back from this.
The one who's being all horny up in here. I didn't do shit.
The fuck are you talking about, you fucking weirdo? I'm fucking talking, and then you're fucking trying to turn it into some sort of sexual kink because you're a fucking porn-addled degenerate. But that's fucking besides the point. You just can't help yourself.
That's true. So, like, why did you get so aggressive when I was talking about what the primary contradiction
like you're trying
is?
To fucking sexually assault me. Instead of you're trying to fucking sexually assault me with your fucking, fucking TOS shit right now. Okay?
What? Sexually assault him? You can't say. Okay, does he know what sexual assault is? I don't think he knows what sexual assault. I think he legitimately has no clue what sexual assault is. You can't sexually assault somebody on the internet. You can't. That's not. I mean, I guess you can potentially sexually harass somebody on the internet. You can't sexually assault. The whole point of assault is you can touch them, right? Like, wait 1 second, everybody in chat. 1 second. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Take me away. I shouldn't have done that. That was wrong. I promise I'll publish at least 2 or 3 twitlongers, okay? Very sorry. Didn't mean to sexually assault all of you guys out there. What a silly person. Honestly, I think 90% of his issues is he probably just doesn't get out much unless he's streaming from an alleyway. I think there's just like a lot of lacking in social skills and social awareness and, building like one-on-one friendships.
That's actually
I'd like to see how this guy would engage with somebody else if he just wanted to start a conversation in a bar. Like, how long would it be until he starts talking about the Malthusian plot?
About what I'm actually trying to talk about here, okay? The fucking system that exists right now is no longer capitalism. And because it's no longer capitalism, it has a stranglehold in a completely different way over Western society than it has had before. Our goal as anti-imperialists within the United States and any Western country should be trying to dismantle the neoliberal imperialist hegemonic system. And this is why, if you are a communist in Africa, or you're a communist in any other fucking country, or here in the West, and you are still upholding the actual systems, the actual, structure that allows imperialism to maintain its dominance on the American people and the rest of the fucking world, for that matter, you're an enemy to the actual cause. You're fighting against the actual anti-imperialist movements globally, both in the West and across the world. So you have to align yourself with China. You have to align yourself with Russia. You have to align yourself with BRICS. You have to align yourself with the actual counter-hegemonic forces. And if you don't, you are inherently aligning yourself with the hegemony.
Look, if you do not support Wagner, like beheading people in Bakhmut and castrating POWs in the colonization and conquering of Ukraine, truly that just means that you like the invasion of Iraq and everything that America did. Your only two options is George Bush or Vladimir Putin. Your only two options. There can't be any other options. That's just how it is. That's just how the world works. Okay? I think John Mearsheimer said that.
With the neoliberal establishment, with the WEF, with the LGBTQ CIA agenda, with the eco-fascist agenda, with the Malthusian agenda to maintain the global dominance of our imperialist system, both at home and abroad.
Okay. So I guess what I would ask is how you're defining imperialism in these arguments.
I'm defining imperialism specifically as the hegemony, the specific hegemony that maintains the unipolar world.
So, okay, this is another thing. And when I talked about him, he said the same thing. In his mind, there's only one type of imperialism. And he tries to justify this a few ways, but it's silly. This is what he really, like, if you drill him down on it, this is what he means. America is the only, like, the American structures and and the American economic system is the only form of imperialism. When he says imperialism, he just means America doing things on the world stage and upholding its power structures on the world stage. Therefore, in his mind, they're like, no matter what, like, Pakistan could like invade Bangladesh and like trying to annex or something, like who knows, like one country invades another country, annexes another country, tries to conquer it, colonize it. For example, Russia invades Ukraine. That's not imperialism because it's not America. That's boiling it down. America is the only country that can do imperialism. That is his worldview.
That's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
I do not care about Lenin's previous definitions, if that's your argument, on how imperialism operated in the 20th century, because that was the 20th century. We're in the 21st century. Things have changed, just as
things have changed, and America's all that matters.
They changed from Karl Marx in the 19th century into the 20th century with Lenin, and therefore, as Mao literally said, you never step in the same.
I'm trying to help you out here. I'm trying to help you out because I want to know. So, if we're disregarding Lenin, can you tell me a modern Marxist theorist or theorist from whatever school of thought that you're doing? You're the theorist that decides that imperialism has nothing to do with capitalism.
What was that? What was that?
Asterisk Gerono asterisk gifted asterisk 8 tier 1 asterisk subscription.
That's a lot. Thank you. You gifted 8. That's a lot of people. We had a lot of white names in chat today. Gifted one to Sir Flexington, Living in Jeopardy, 3 locations, Leftist Lawrence, Sleeping Cow, Nino Zeno, Paul DSSB, and Markian. Thank you so much for the 8 tier 1s, guys. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Damn, that's a lot. I appreciate that. I'm sorry. He said he is. What was that one like Greek philosopher who was homeless and would like throw feces at people? Does anybody remember what his name was? Well, who was that? Who was that philosopher? I think his name started with a D. I think Diogenes or something. No, I forget. Diogenes? Yeah, Diogenes? Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, he's like a modern that guy, except he also has nothing of value to say, and he's just flinging feces at people.
I'm not the only person, okay? I mean, everyone from like Hazem Infrared, Jehu, Caleb Maupin, Peter Coffin, I mean, we're looking at.
Wait, wasn't Caleb Maupin the guy that he said recruited him into a cult before he found out Caleb Maupin was a sex pest who was trying to force his spanking fetish on the other people who joined his communist organization? And then he was part of writing the article to expose Caleb Maupin? Is he really a good theorist to use as a representation if he called him a cult leader?
Sex cult guy?
The sex cult guy. There was no cult and there was no, like, it was just a...
Wait, when I talked to him, he told me he was a cult leader. He 100% said it was a cult when I was talking to him. Wait, 1 second. 1 second. I'm gonna put on my investigative Dylan Burns TV Yankee Tankie. 1 second. Which one's? Oh, this one's older, so this one. You're looking at me. Okay. Show transcripts. Cult. Cultural beliefs. Okay, here it is.
Matters. All it matters is I'm calling you out for fucking being a fucking Nazi, and I get views. That's how it works.
Do you ever think the fact that you left a cult meant that now you want to fill another cult up in your head? You need another strong man outside of Caleb Maupin. You've just replaced it with Putin and Russia. You've just accepted a separate cult.
The strong man.
You're the strong.
Yeah, well, because we talked about this, and he said he was in a cult. I can't find it specifically in here, but the last time I talked to him, or one of the last time I talked to him, he said it was in a cult, and I'm referencing it here, and he's not rejecting it because we talked about it, and he said he was in a cult. But I don't know what happened. Oh, and then later he said supporting Ukraine is like a cult. And then that because he wanted to push back against the fact that he had admitted to joining a cult. I remember that. Yeah. What a weird conversation.
Relationship between Caleb Maupin and someone else that went sour. Okay, I've publicly talked about how I've regretted signing that document because clearly it was operated by feds. That's what Flame of Liberation, aka Nick Maniazzi, is. And I hope.
Oh, so he. Oh my gosh. So he's the CIA. So in his own worldview, if what he's saying is true, he contributed to a CIA op to smear Caleb Maupin. I mean, I don't believe it, but he, if true, or in his own worldview, he is the CIA op. That makes him closer to the CIA than me and Keffals combined. Oh my gosh. Thou protest too much? Significy. I don't know how to say your name, but thank you for the tier 1 and beats up for 6 months. I appreciate it.
Hope he sees this so he can, you know, fucking respond if the coward ever is going to respond to me. The facts are he's a fucking fed that fucking teared apart the coalition that we had that was going on here.
Right.
And my dumbass, over personal reasons, fucking signed on to a document I never should have signed. But the facts are there was no sex cult. There was no cult, period. It was just a consensual relationship that turned sour between Caleb Maupin and a former member of the organization. And that's the reality of the situation. Oh, the fucking sex cult bullshit.
But like Caleb Maupin was also one of those, oh, we need to promote the traditional family, and he's trying to pay people for a spanking fetish, and he's forcing the spanking fetish into conversations, not with just one person, but with other people in the organization, that he shouldn't have been forcing it into the conversation of. Like, I don't, like, look, if you're chill with someone and you both talk about that type of stuff, that's your business. But if you drop that into a conversation and they're not reciprocating that, and they're trying to distance from themselves from that, like buzz off, like stop. But he didn't. He kept going.
That didn't happen. It's not real. Okay, the CPI is one of the few organizations out there right now, regardless of my past with that organization, that actually is trying to do something right now. You know, the only other people that are trying to do something, I guess, like the Schiller's Institute, even though they're not communist or whatever. I mean, Midwestern Marxists would be another one of them.
The Schiller's Institute, I believe, are LaRouchites and Midwestern Marxists. I don't even think that's an organization. Isn't there just like one guy that people know of? It just kind of makes TikToks.
But I mean, there's a small collection of people that, you know, have already been examining.
Dude, this whole collection he just named is probably smaller than Political Twitch, and Political Twitch is very small. I'm just trying to say the idea that these are the true communists and the true people that's going to lead communism forward. I mean, it's pretty delusional, man.
Condition that we're seeing right now in the 21st century, that the nature of the current hegemony has changed entirely.
Could you link me like an article on like Maupin saying this? Because I like looking back, because you know I've been reading stuff from him in Workers' World Party for a while, and he's always.
Okay, so let me just tell you, you can look at the like his YouTube lives, for example, but you can also check out most of his more recent books. I mean, he's talked about this topic. This isn't, you know, I'm not gonna like separate myself. I'm on a phone, So what information that comes from my mouth is the only thing you're going to be able to get on stream, because I can't access other stuff while I'm on.
So
my phone,
I just looked up his book, BreadTube Serves Imperialism, and he does in fact describe imperialism as capitalist.
Yes, Caleb describes it on BreadTube Serves Imperialism. He hasn't described it in that context. He's explained that even if he puts it in different terms, that the mode of production has altered the economic system that we are seeing right now in the United States.
No,
we no longer exist.
He said in his own words, capitalist imperialism is not defined by war and military action, but is an economic system allowing capitalists to expand their profits through setting up capital to steal resources from poorer nations.
Okay, so again, that's BreadTube. His position has changed since then. He has further explained while he still thinks that it's capitalism, he thinks capitalism is no longer operating the same way as it does. So
you're not a Marxist?
The exact same rhetoric, but okay, you keep making up this point. You're not a Marxist, but no,
I'm asking because you said that you.
I am a Marxist. I am a third position communist. I'm sorry, rather a fourth position communist. That's ironic.
Because right now you've dismissed Mao, you've dismissed Marx, you've dismissed Lenin, you've dismissed Xi Jinping even. I don't think there's a single communist who has a high reputation in the communist movement that you've actually.
I'm actually better than him because I'm a fifth positionist, okay? And Keffals is a sixth positionist, right? And if you really want to get crazy, Vosh is a seventh positionist. So this guy's really nothing when you think about it.
Shown respect to.
The facts are that the conditions that exist, none of these people are gods. None of these people are the Bible, okay? There are people all across the political spectrum right now that are recognizing who the primary enemy is, right? And a faction of them are communists.
And what, Caleb Maupin, Midwestern Marx? Yeah. All these people are recognizing the value of MAGA communism.
And those people...
All these 0.5% of the population... on twitter.com
that recognize who the primary enemy is, even if they explain things in slightly different ways, because some of them aren't communists, some of them are communists. We are recognizing that the current structure has fundamentally changed, and because it has fundamentally changed, we should operate on that basis instead of trying to recreate the Marxism of the 20th century, because it's not going to work.
This isn't recreating the Marxism. This is literally using established theory in order to explain the world around us.
Position communist. I understand your position on, you're talking about all these other like realms of communism and what these people believe in. I don't believe in the same thing.
Okay, you don't believe in communism. You're not a Marxist-Leninist.
I don't believe in Marxist-Leninism.
No, you don't. You don't believe in Marxism-Leninism.
I believe in a communist.
You don't believe in Marxist theory. You don't believe in Leninist theory. You've shit on Mao. You've shit on Xi Jinping. I have met people who have died, people who have dead family members who fought in actual revolutions, and you are pitiful. You know nothing about what you're talking about, and you're a fucking LARPer. The people that I know who have put their life on the lines in the name of revolution would think that you're a fucking pathetic loser. Alright, should I just end this here? Like, I don't think there's any point continuing. Like, he's just really...
Won't stop.
I'm gonna... Yeah.
He's still going.
He's still going. This is really funny. All right. Have a good day. You're gay.
Damn, he's gay. Damn. Gay.
I was really crazy.
What a waste of time. What a waste of time. You know what we all learned today? The need for mental health care coverage in the United States. Okay, let's move on. That's enough of that. Done with that. I'm done with that. I don't need it. I don't want to watch another nanosecond. Another nanosecond.